I'd like to call the meeting to order. Judy, would you do the roll, please?
Judy Neville, Tom Schulte.
Here.
Amy Carroll. Here. Todd Lavieri.
Present.
Michael Chin's absent. Chris Labrie.
Here.
Victor Alvarez.
Here.
Maria Weingarten. Here. Bob Hamel.
Here.
Colin Dobbin.
Here.
James Yao.
Sure.
Yeah, motion to seat James.
Do we need a motion to seat James for Michael?
Motion.
Maria, second? Second. Victor, all in favor?
Yep.
Aye. Opposed? None? Okay. All right, motion to approve the minutes. Everybody got the minutes?
Yeah.
Any clarifications, questions?
Anybody?
Anything?
Nope.
All right, motion to approve?
So
All
moved.
right, Chris, second? Second. Going once? James, second. All in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. So moved. Kevin? wanna Do a first selectmen's update?
Sure.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you had a good August.
Did.
So I realized I'm actually giving you an update of the July 10th report, which the projects that were in motion are still either completed or in motion, and capital projects, Waveney bathrooms are almost done. I've been saying that for 3 months. We have a few supply chain issues with some fixtures and but otherwise they're virtually done. Waveney elevator is started. As I reported before, the Waveney service area, if you haven't been over there, is nearly done. Should be completed in September, October. Lapham Center CHP sits there waiting for gas to be brought into Waveney Park, which Tiger promises me will happen before the snow flies. Eversource, everything is yesterday or tomorrow. 220 Elm, the Board of Ed is in. Viking did a wonderful job on their premises, and I think they're all very happy with their new abode. PD project, I guess you're going to get an update on that from Tiger and others. So Bill's here for that. And library loan, the library took another $2 million in August, and on the main project, the construction loan. And they plan to come in 2 weeks to the Board of Selectmen on the 1913 building loan. And that's as we had a meeting last Thursday with the Silver Hill Hospital. Weston, as you know, has joined the NUCUA program, is working very well. And parking is a mystery. Trying to figure out what commuters are doing after they shut down for the summer.
They got used to it.
We're trying to figure out parking. And we, as you know, we gave the people a 3-month blessing for or what's the word? A 3-month
Extension.
reprieve from for the money they might have paid to Park and Dairy and other places.
That was fair, more than fair.
So we'll
That's a
take a
good
little bit of a
idea.
hit on that, but the reality is I think they appreciated that. And then Utilities Commission is up and running, and the Affordable Housing Committee is shortly to be appointed. We're going to wait 2 more weeks. The Tiger's got a whole bunch of road repairs and repaving underway. Got a long list of roads, mainly off South Avenue. The roads that were disturbed by the natural gas and quarry and water. The what does it say? The big pipe still goes through New Canaan over on 106 and will continue for a while, the 36-inch pipe, and then it's going to go down South Avenue, which is going to be a really annoying project. And then the reval, as I told you, we're almost baked. 2 weeks more to go, and hopefully we hit $10 billion to bring the mill rate down to the 13s. And
Wow.
that should help not only, well, it's not going to help overall because it'll just reshelf the pie, but people with automobiles are going to really see a reduction in their personal property tax on their automobiles. So that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Is that where it's coming out? 10 billion?
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that, we're 8?
8-2?
Yeah.
What were we, 8-1,
Big
8-2?
jump.
Yeah.
It's a big jump.
Yeah. Big
It's a
jump.
Hey, Kevin, with the elevator, is there a time, is like the elevator ordered coming in? I mean, is there a guess, or maybe Tiger, when the elevator project gets? And I know is the actual elevator ordered
work in the basement is being done and then it'll come. They blocked out some weddings and dates and,
Right, yeah, so we're right now going back and forth on shop drawings before production. But to Kevin's point, the shaft is being created. We already have, the overrun down in the basement, and then the shaft will be created as we go. And then the elevator will arrive and they build the elevator inside the shaft at that point in time. So it's well on its way. It's just a question of right now, we're making sure that everything will fit and will work and will look the way we want it to. So right now it's just in the shop drawing phase, going back and forth between it. And there's only inches of play for
Right.
the thing to come in, but
So how quickly, once we give them the go to
several months,
construct it? Yeah.
6 months or more. So we're
And
looking,
that's after we give them the
Right.
specifics, which we still don't have yet, right? So this is gonna take some time.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have firm numbers for the 3 Waveney projects? Are we gonna see a breakdown? The bathroom and the elevator and the,
We can give you a final analysis, yeah, if you'd like. We have firm numbers for each of the phases. And specifically the last two, where we combined the last two, we were able to save a little bit of money by combining, and then we were able to save some money overall. We actually went back from COVID numbers to pre-COVID numbers, which was a bonus for us. But we can give you an analysis at the end of how it all.
do we know how much just the bathroom is? Or,
Off the top of my head, I'd rather not give you a number, but I can send it to you just off the
yeah,
top of my head.
I'd like to drum through it, yeah.
Any other questions?
What's going on with Lakeview? That every time or 30% of the time that I try to drive down that road, it's closed, the one that goes to the transfer station.
Lakeview is Aquarian Water is putting in a new water main, and that's the service installations now. So the big bane about a water main installation is they put the water main in first, right? Then they have to test it, pressurize it, chlorinate it, wait for it to be satisfactory, wait for all pass all of its tests, then remobilize. During that entire time, they're not on the street, so they're gone for weeks. You don't even notice it, but they're actually doing work. Then they come back and actually have to hook up individually every single service, and depending upon how it goes, it could be 1 service a day, 2 to 3 services a day. So that's what you're seeing, is that daily closure of trying to now hook up the person off the old main to the new main. Then they did decommission the old main, then they're done
When are they going to finish the work?
within the next couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks.
All right, that's good.
Sorry.
One other project, Kevin, what's happening with the Y, with the ARPA money we were doing for Y for it was another one of the
Electric vehicles?
well, no, wasn't it we were gonna make it a
the CHP.
CHP? Yeah, sorry.
We hired Deloitte, and that's why when I mentioned the Lapham project, and actually the superintendent just arrived. I hope we're going to have a planned project for the high school, because we can get 30 or 40% federal dollars on those projects. Why will be getting that kind of money? Their project is much bigger, like $1.5 million, $1.6 million. And but they're working on it, and their building is crazy with the electrical
It's all over the place, yeah.
all over the place, but
All right, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, well, just a couple housekeeping things. Excuse me. Obviously, welcome back, everybody. It feels like we've been away for a couple of months. We haven't had an August off for a few years. I think we've been here for one reason or another in August, not to revisit the past, starting with COVID. But we will be kicking off our budget guidance work. Chris Labrie and Michael Chen, I think, are going to be remain on that subcommittee, and of course I'll be on it, and we probably have room for one more. Do you got to be on that budget? You don't have to be. I just know if you're interested in it, just let me know. I'd like to ask one more person to join. Yeah. So that would be great. We'll begin that process. With that, I guess we've got quite a few items to go through. Let's start with the police department today. This was meant to be an update on the renovation project. That's what we got.
So, hello. So the police building committee has been working hard. Joe, thank you. Feel free to chime in and correct all the incorrect things that I state, please. So the rough numbers are the same, right? 20 million construction, 5 million soft costs, 2 million for the move, 2 million contingencies. roughly that's all still the same. We have more detail because the planning phase is now officially done. So we have a guaranteed maximum price from our contractor, Turner Construction, and that number is $20,235,000. So if you look at the budget update, the first number there, $20,235,000. We were estimating 18 to 20 million. Remember, these estimates have been they're difficult to nail down between the inflation and shortages and things like that. We feel pretty happy, frankly, that they came in at 20,235,000. The list of vendors that the approved vendors between the town and Turner was extensive. Everything except for maybe one of the subs was multiple bidders. We had one, I think it was Glass and Glazing, that in the end it really came down to one person who wanted to do it. But the big ones very well bid out. Turner very pleased. And if you go through, I don't want to go too much detail but we can sort of take questions on the Turner guaranteed maximum price. The details there, you'll see there that $20,235,000 does include a $703,000 contingency for Turner. That's their contingency. That's not our contingency. Now they hope to give some of that back in the end. That's why it's a guaranteed maximum price. But you can't bank on that if they're falling behind schedule. There's overtime. There's 3 feet of snow on the ground. That kind of thing. That's what their contingency is. As far as the things that have been bid out, we talked about that last time. Those prices came in, if anything, a little better than expected. We're talking, generators, switching equipment, the big things where the lead times are very, very, very long. We feel pretty good about how those have come in. And you can see, like I said, the breakout of the of their, to get to the $20,235,000. As far as soft costs are concerned, you'll see. The number we have here is $4,869,000. Some of that is still to be determined, right? We don't know exactly where it's going to come in. Things like the architecture fees and things like that, they've already been paid out. Some of the things like the actual training software that the police will choose. There's a lot of things that are still out there, right? As far as, to come up with what that price is really going to be. The wooden benches we're going to make them sit on. We don't know how much they're going to cost. And so, furnishings and things like that. The move, and we have a lot of detail on the move if you want it. The building committee, again, we're signing off on it, but our, professional town employees and the police have been doing 99% of that work. That's is going very, very well. Of that, $2,700,000 is rent. And the other expenses are coming in as you would expect. There's a lot of safety equipment that needs to be ordered, a lot of communications equipment that wires that get pulled and things like that. That all has to continue, and that's going fine. And then as far as contingency is concerned, you see we have a 1.9 contingency right now that we're carrying. We hope that's going to be enough. As we all know, this is a refurbishment of a very, very old building, and we don't know what we don't know. We've certainly poked and prodded it for a long period of time, but things can happen. I'm not going to look any of you in the eye and say we're not going to be surprised. Of course, we will be with something. But as far as the planning stage is concerned, the plan is still good and on schedule and ahead of budget and ahead of time. But it's still, like I said, just a plan. But so far, everything we've done, the numbers are coming in as expected.
So it was suggested in a meeting earlier this year that Turner could use Design for Freedom in the construction or the renovation of the police department. I'm assuming that did not happen. Is that correct?
I don't remember anything.
What was that?
Design for Freedom.
Design for Freedom.
We didn't talk about that. What's that? The same thing.
Design for Freedom is Turner did it with the library where they asked their vendors if the materials that they were being sold had inherent forced labor in the materials. And in an earlier meeting, we discussed that maybe Turner could do it for the police department too, because they were so successful doing it at the library. And it turns out that there are no incremental costs to do Design for Freedom. It's just you're questioning the vendors and you're making vendor decisions based on what their answers are, and you're giving them the heads up that this is a concern for the end user. So I see that you have a lot of vendors already selected. I'm assuming you haven't done Design for Freedom thus far.
Joe?
No, we can definitely look into it, but the way that this was bid, it was the lowest qualified person got the bid. It wasn't, we didn't have the luxury of being able to kind of negotiate those last little bits. We'd have to disqualify the low bidder in order to take someone else. So we didn't have that level of freedom to select bidders based on that. But we could definitely look into it.
Public versus private, job, right? We couldn't shop the number.
Once the number comes in at a low, once the number comes in on a low bid, we have to, if it's a low responsible bidder, we have to take that bidder. The library has the luxury of being private money. They can actually then
Yeah.
negotiate with each bidder,
Had this
for other
conversation.
concerns that they might have, be it sourcing of materials, things of that nature. We're a little bit bound a little bit further on the fact of it's our lowest responsible bidder. Given the fact that it's public money, but we can certainly have Turner go back and revisit the
It'd be good to know.
with each.
It'd be good to know. They may be using the
Exactly.
same, they may be using the same,
They
They do a
vendors.
substantial, yeah, they do a substantial review with each bidder,
Yeah.
a bidding review
I
with
know.
each one. So we can actually ask them to go back and
I know.
re-interview each one of them to say that this is a concern. We'd like to, have their guarantee that this isn't happening.
There's some very similar names here from the library, I think. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to
And
know.
I don't think they can guarantee that they don't have enforced labor or slave labor, but they do realize that it's a concern of ours and it's just a question.
Right,
Yeah.
we can certainly have them take a look.
Yep.
We talked about that before, you're right, so we can have them look at that.
Did any of this qualify for state reimbursement?
I don't believe so.
Have we,
So we
have
either-
we tried, Joe? We were going to look into that, no?
Greg Riley looked for opportunities and none
Really?
came.
I think Tom O'Day expects to get a state grant,
Oh, good.
Or training equipment, was that training equipment?
just contributions toward the project.
Okay.
What's is there more to that story? Is there a process to that? Is it the debt work? I guess the state does their debt
Well,
in
we're
October.
we're waiting for the Republican round of votes for the bond commission. So
So it's in.
In
the bond
October?
Commission?
it should be
Okay.
coming up in
Good.
Be good to know.
Okay, hopefully.
Other questions for Bill or for Joe? I guess I have one. I want to be careful.
Mhm.
You were a little cavalier there about the contingency.
Yep, it's a lower percentage.
It's
than we would
$2
like.
million.
Yep, on a percentage basis, it's a little.
We
lower
have,
than We would like.
it's a lot of money. We have a history of having it as a contingency and using it as our expense.
Well, a choice was made to do the roof because the roof is 10 years old and you wanted to build basically a brand new building and have a 10-year-old roof on it. And they decided to include the roof as a,
Yep.
so that took away part of the contingency.
Which
All the roof or part of it?
No,
It was,
All-
really?
All of
Oh,
them. Remember we.
Yeah,
All the
Yeah.
existing roof. There's new portions of the building.
Yes, obviously, the
That's
the
right.
new portion of the back one, obviously, it was part of the original, but the existing roof that was not gonna be demolished. We could have left it, it's a 11-year, right now, it has 11 years of service. It's the asphalt roof. And when we spoke to the Board of Finance, the Town Council, and others, and as a committee, we've discussed, for months, frankly, should we
Yep.
put in an entirely new roof of we'll call it faux asbestos.
Yeah, that's
Don't
not real asbestos. So I'm glad, I didn't know there was a faux asbestos, but at least we don't have to remediate.
Seller, say asbestos, don't say
Yeah.
asbestos.
synthetic slate.
Faux slate roof. And the cost, Joe, was it 235 or 325?
325.
325?
325.
Yeah, $325,000 incremental to re-roof the entire building with faux slate. The building committee voted to do that. But we got the sense of the town council and others that it was a direction they would like to see us go. But that money, that extra 325, came out of that,
Yeah.
came out of our contingency already. And that gets us down to the 1.9 contingency.
So the 700 in the Turner contingency only covers the plans and specs they bid on? And then the 1,000,009 is for ours, which is unanticipated
Right,
conditions
the scope of the project
or
changes,
scope, okay.
you know, things like that. We decide after we see the, you know, something that we want to change it, even though it's per the specs, and we decide to do something else.
But you also have baked in some anticipated costs for, I think I saw abatement for things, which again is a guesstimate.
Yes,
So that's a little bit of a reserve or a contingency itself.
yes, yes.
Well, and you don't really have to have a contingency on the temporary budget,
Yeah, and
temporary department, right? That's $2 million.
Right.
That's a sunk cost. We know what it is. It's not gonna
There's a
increase.
little construction that goes along
That's
with
right.
that. I'd let Tiger answer.
But what that-
No, but this is
But
where
then your
we-
$1,000,009, your $1,000,009
Well-
is a bigger number of the actual construction cost.
Though I have to say, there's $700,000 in Turner's number, so it's not really 1.9,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Right,
Okay, it's 2.6.
right.
Right.
took that
It's
as
not
a-
2.6
we took that
on
into consideration.
29. It's 2.6 on 20, really,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
It's not, we're not have a contingency for the soft cost insurance.
Right.
I hope. We don't have contingency for the temporary police department.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when you boil it all back, it's the 20.3. He already has 700,000 in there, and we got another 2 million top. I really can't impress upon enough how important that is not to be spent. We have to be careful that that's not really kind of code for it's budgeted for. It's not budgeted for.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's
And we
right.
gotta, you know, this, you remember, and I can go the next, we can have this meeting again in October and I can bring you the deck that we went through and it was a $17 million renovation. That's now 29. I gotta just
Don't spend
send
it.
the message. It's not there to be spent. I know, and it's a contingency and we gotta be, we get a little careless with that as if it's okay. It's really not okay. And Turner has 700,000 too. So I just,
Right.
1.9 million is really,
Well, the alternative is to start doing some value engineering, like take some things out, and that hasn't been done. So,
That's right.
why are we not doing that?
well, because there's been no need to yet, but ultimately.
Well,
Well, there's-
yeah.
The
but
need,
now's
the need is
time to
now.
look
I
at
mean,
it.
Well,
we can't,
Yeah,
let's,
You
Yeah.
know, the library did that, save themselves millions of dollars.
yeah, yeah.
That's right.
I think that's not a bad takeaway from this meeting. Is there a way for that? Is there $500,000? There's something that could be done from a value engineering. That's,
Move the
Yeah,
process.
we
up.
may have some opportunities like in the tech, because the tech numbers keep dropping. You know, they just keep dropping. So, you know, we haven't booked in any of those yet. And
Yeah,
I think
good.
I
Makes
think it's
sense.
important to realize that in terms of, you know, the exposure, because it is no building, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but once we get through the opening up, then we'll know. Then we'll know that there's no big surprises there, right? Because again, you know, we're trying to deliver a renovated as new building that's 100 years old, right? So,
Mhm.
you
On
know, in
budget.
terms of, you know, where we might, you know, get surprised, it will be opening stuff up.
we understand.
So hopefully we won't.
The budget's 27, right? That's really the way to look at it. It's not 29. And we've got to really, and I think that's a good suggestion, Kevin, to think about that now.
Yeah.
This isn't
Yeah.
2.3% money either anymore. This just got a little more expensive through no fault of your own, right? By borrowing it, whatever we're going to be borrowing at, it's not going to be the same. So, okay. Other questions?
Yeah, just a quick question on the Turner construction. So that 700,000 contingency, that's kind of capped. There's nothing, they will not go above that number. Is that what I understand?
They eat it, right? It's a guaranteed maximum price to us. And
Yeah,
so if
and-
things happen that they did not account for, that's on them.
That's on them, right?
Through their 700,000, they're eating it, not us. Correct.
Okay. Okay, just to be clear. Thank you.
And how much of the soft costs have already been expensed?
As a percentage, when you say
But
expense,
you've actually paid.
Incurred.
so for soft costs to get us to the GMP through all the pre-construction, we spent about 1.5 million.
Okay,
And
out of the
1.5.
4.8, out of the 4.9.
And other things are locked in, the rent's locked in, things are committed. So
Mhm.
No. The total soft cost budget of 4,869,000.
Mhm.
1.5. is
1.5 has been spent.
Correct.
Okay.
And what is the funding schedule? Do you have something for this in terms of what we'd borrow and when? Okay. Okay. Okay, when do we go out for the first time with something? Okay,
Next March.
when is the, yeah, that's a better question. When's this done? When do they plan on being done right now, current schedule? When did that?
Move in.
Yep.
They're moving out of the building around Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's an 18-month construction window.
Is that date guaranteed by Turner? In other words, they're liquidated damages if they miss a date?
So there's no liquidated damages, but Turner has already said that they're gonna beat that schedule. They've committed to doing it in more like 13 months. So
Okay.
We've been holding 18 out.
It's getting cheaper all the
but
time,
yes,
Bill.
Turner fully expects to do much better than
Okay, that's now March-ish 25.
25 though, will not.
correct, spring of 25.
No, but the 25 I would.
Includes other.
Will not be related to the police station yet. If we have close to 25 million, up until we approve the 24 bonding, we have 25 million projects that need to get bonded. And we have the 24 that we have, which contains the police building.
Yeah.
That's 48 million. So I was gonna do it in tranches of, I need 27, definitely, or 26, definitely February, March of next year. And then the next following year, another $20+ million.
Wow.
Because we do it.
Yeah,
In
we
arrears.
do it, yeah, sequentially, yeah.
Do it in arrears and don't
Yeah.
see the effect of the ones that, when I get into the weeds, there's certain projects that we need to put into a 10% category. That I need enough bonding of
Yep.
tax exempt bonding
Mhm.
to pay these 10%.
Mhm.
The larger one, I have an 18 month time.
Okay, all right. Okay, other questions? Anything for us at this point? Got what you need? Moving out in November?
When would you like us back?
As soon as you know anything more.
Well, they start in November. They're gonna know a lot by February, I would guess.
Yes.
So February, March,
March.
middle of budget season. Let's just do plan on that. You know, we'll put that one by ear a little bit, but probably February, March.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else for us?
Yes. Yeah, sure.
Right.
At the end.
please. Okay,
That's right,
thank you
yeah.
all.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. Bill. Okay,
Real estate.
the next topic was an update on the two acquisitions we made. I think Ann, yeah, Tiger, Kevin, Bill. Yeah.
But this is interesting.
Who you want to go
you
first? What do you want? What would you like?
Do you want to go through bills or,
Um,
I can
so-
start overview and then you can jump
Why
in
don't
if
you
you
do that? Why
want.
don't you
Yeah.
do that? Yeah.
So I'll start at 220. You want to start with like the purchasing through?
Yeah,
So-
just, how did it go? I mean,
Okay, so the original purchase was the 6.1 that we purchased the building. We then we split out, or the 3 units that were in there, we sold unit B and unit C. Collectively, the sale of those was $4.197 million. Leaving our unit at 1.9, basically what we ended up bonding, just over $2 million.
And what
Plus-
percentage of the building did we end up with?
50.
50, because we had expected more, but we ended up with 50.
I'd have to confirm it, but I believe it is 50. It was something with the entrance space and a shared space that changed during the sale.
Yeah.
It was at 52 at one point, and then we came down to 50 when we finally struck the deal.
I thought it was higher when we initially talked about it. I thought it was like 60, but
No,
anyways, this is
never
where
was
we
that
are.
high.
So net bonding, we did about $2.7 million. 2 million for the building, the 1.9, and 700,000 estimate 750 for renovations. The renovations increased from the 750 to about 2,059,000. I think it was we did an additional $1.3 million. So just over 2 million for the renovations. And Tiger, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we came under of that $2 million. We have what, 31,000 left that we did not spend.
That we did not spend. Well, yeah, and then 34,000 in contingency remaining, so $65,000 left of that 2,059,000, which included the pre-construction work, the construction work, and then some additional work as far as moving costs, furnishings, fiber installation, things of that nature. So out of the 2,059, 420, 220, we spent 2,027, 571.07. And of that 2,027, $34,000 of contingency that's unallocated yet.
Do you have all this?
Yeah.
So
You may
it
need-
just give me that again. The 2027
Piece of paper.
is the total of those.
27571 is the total cost, right?
Yeah.
Out of the budget of 2,059,422.
Can you talk about why the renovation cost went from 700,000?
I was just trying to,
The initial was the fact that it was a thought that the board would want to go in, do a slight renovation to accommodate what they needed, live in it for a period of time, and then renovate for what they felt that their needs were. The superintendent and the board felt that it would be better to then disrupt their staff once, especially since the building was unoccupied, right? And they could stay where they were since they already had a lease available, and then renovate it to what they exactly needed. So it was always going to be coming back for a secondary cost as to whether or not that final fit out for them as to what they would need. But it was just a different philosophy and a different approach. And quite frankly, I kind of agree with him that to disrupt your staff once, right? Don't even disrupt them. They just basically move into their newly renovated space versus moving, then having to be renovated, move out, renovate, and then come back. I would imagine that the cost probably would have been a little bit higher than that, especially if we'd have to accommodate them during a renovation phase. So the thought being was that instead of coming in and living in it and then renovating it to what you would need, renovate it beforehand, since you already know, hire your architect and base it upon what you've already experienced in your previous space, and renovate the new space as you see fit, and then move in and disrupt your staff once. So that's the reason for the disconnect between the two numbers, was just a different philosophy at the time of purchase, not necessarily the fact that we thought it would be 700,000 and the numbers came in at 2 million. Wasn't that at all. It was
I don't
But we
think,
should have
I
been
don't
told.
think that was, if this is water under the bridge, but I don't think that's how it was represented to us. It
No.
was represented, this is a Class A building. And it's gonna be, we built in 750 to renovate it. And I never got the sense that it was a two-phase project, but then, all of a sudden we own it, we own a little less than we thought we were gonna own, and then the costs came in. I just think in the future, we shouldn't do it that way. We should just.
Well, the plan-
And even this discussion, no offense, we should have a piece of paper so that
Yeah.
we're following these numbers versus Judy trying to write it
well,
down.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
you know, as a
know, you have
rule,
to
I
go
think
back
if
and-
anybody's gonna come here and rattle a bunch of numbers off to us,
Yeah.
Give
they
it
need
to
to give
us.
us a piece of paper. I
Yeah,
mean, this goes on all the time. And we get all these numbers rattled off, or we're trying to write them down.
Yeah.
And, you guys can write this up and hand it out to everybody so that we're not running around getting the wrong numbers and getting them mixed up. And it's not a,
Well, look, the
Yeah.
plan in the beginning was that the half of the first floor was going to be made into a education center, and that was what was the 750, right? The other part of the building was office space. We thought they would, and Joe gave us the number 750 to renovate the half of the building. The superintendent decided to do the entire, basically demolish the whole floor, and so that doubled the cost. So
But we didn't know that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the problem.
Just
And,
on
you know,
on the
my-
data, we'll need you to write up what you did, because
Yeah.
Judy needs that for the minutes.
Well,
And then
yeah.
Fine.
we all ought to
Yeah,
have
I
that
mean,
too. Yeah.
I apologize.
Yep.
It was given as an update. I didn't,
Yeah,
realize that,
that's why I thought it
so
was an update.
it was,
Apologies.
and
Yeah,
then,
we'll make sure.
we put the numbers together so we would be able to speak to them, in hindsight, Chris, you're right. Next time we'll just disseminate it throughout.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
no problem.
You know, this goes back 20 years, but when we talk about contingency, contingency should not be part of the savings if it's not spent.
That was not,
Contingency
that was not
is
part of the
not-
discussion here at all. That was,
Well,
that was not,
Yeah, but we
the
keep
plan,
rehearing this.
the plan was only to do half the building and live in the office space. That changed. So, and the other issue we have is, I thought we had an understanding that the superintendent was going to incur the cost of the renovations for the duration of the 20 years and take in lieu of the rent that we've been paying over $400,000. So that still has to be agreed to. So because you either do in kind or you do,
What have
you
we
pay
not
rent.
agreed to? I'm sorry. What?
We have bond interest for 20 years.
Yeah.
And we have well, basically bond interest and that should, since we're the landlord and the superintendent's been paying $440,000 a year rent, we felt that bond interest would be paid for by the rent. If instead they want it to be an in-kind contribution, which is, an alternative, then the rent ought to be taken out of the Board of Ed budget. That's the point. So the rent that they
Have
currently,
we agreed to that? Or have we even discussed it or no, nothing?
Yeah.
Oh, it hasn't gone to the Board of Ed? Okay.
I mean, Kevin, what you're saying is that the
can't- you can't-
expense
the taxpayers can't pay
associated
for
with
it
the debt
twice.
should be offset by the fact that we don't have the lease payment anymore.
that's right.
And hopefully that matches up.
That's right.
And, it kind of is wherever it sits, it's still a cost, but so we should just, it's a 20-year amortization on this with level principal, right? So it's just, and I don't know what the debt. Oh, have you borrowed for this yet or not? this we're
We
gonna bu-
borrowed for the purchase of the building
Okay.
and 700 of the renovations. We didn't borrow the million plus.
Yeah, so if when you put it, if you can basically say, our debt expense, and that was the analysis you did initially, our debt expense was gonna accelerate given the terms of the lease. If we can basically just do a kind of a summary on that, where we ended up versus, what our exposure would have been on the lease payment, then we could see if it was advantageous from a financial perspective, which is different from a programmatic, and hopefully it's advantageous from programmatic.
Yeah, and what was our coupon on the bond issue?
Oh, I don't have that one offhand. I'll get that for you. I think that was sometime in, the building, it was December. I think we purchased it December and we sold the 2 units in January of 22. So I'll get those numbers for you.
Lower than now.
Over the name.
For sure.
Wait, so to just to be clear, so the rent on Locust Avenue when they were there, the 400 used to come out of the BOE budget.
Mm.
And now with the new building, it's not agreed that the bond payment or whatever would come out of the BOE budget. It would be somewhere else, or is it still going to be part of the BOE?
The
budget?
BOE budget never has debt service.
Yeah.
For
so how
anything we do
you-
on the schools, it's always in the debt service account.
So essentially, the BOE would get like a $400,000 or less expense theoretically.
So you either have to give it in kind,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which we
We
do
can
for all
work
the
that out.
schools.
Yep.
We're basically giving in kind contribution. Or, and you take the budgeted amount in their current budget for $440,000 rent and take that out of their budget.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions on 220? Did you have anything else, Ann? Becker, anything?
No, you just, you asked about 28 Grove Street as well. At present, we asked the renter to vacate, so the building is vacant at present. We have several options as to what we want to do, whether renovate it to bring someone back in. We don't recommend that, or to knock it down. And, we met with AMEC last week to take a look at how much that might be. We had a budgeted cost of around, with environmental and a little bit of contingency of $46,000 to bring the building down. And then approximately $126,000 if we wanted to make a parking lot out of it. We could get 12 spaces out of it with a sidewalk that connected to Grove Street and then connected to the parking lot behind, the lumberyard behind. So all in, we were with that, with a little bit of soft costs and a little bit of contingency, we're at 199 overall. Approximately, if we wanted to knock it down and make a parking lot out of it for 12 spaces to expand the lot. But at present, there's no need, there's no rush to do anything at present, to be quite honest.
I was about to say, we don't really need parking right now because
No, the parking commission did ask about it at their last meeting, I believe, as to whether or not, but there's no, looking at what's happening at the lots, I mean, right now, everyone's coming back. We don't know exactly what how the lots are gonna be utilized or how much, how much is gonna be needed,
Right.
there or elsewhere. So like I said, there's not an immediate need to make any action at present. Basically, we could sit and wait, see what happens.
What was the total acquisition cost with closing costs for?
990,
All in.
994,775.
Okay, I'd like to see just the breakdown of the costs on that, the acquisition and broker's fees and all that jazz.
So another part of the story here is that we negotiated with Stanford Hospital to buy the house next door. And Scott Hobbs was working on a plan to do affordable housing there. He couldn't make the numbers work. With if we bought those properties. So that's why for several months we tried to see if we could build affordable housing next to the train station. So, and that's why we continue to delay on doing anything with the house. So.
That's understandable.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? I think it's just a good hygiene when we do these acquisitions,
Mhm.
make an acquisition, we learn something changes and all the rest of it. Just good to be transparent.
You remember the discussion was we could never lose money on this property, which I still believe, but also this was Steve Carl and people really felt this was a key property. You felt it was something we really ought to do as a planning matter.
Fine, it's,
So,
we're not,
yeah.
no one's been a Monday morning quarterback. It's just
Sounds like it
the
is.
purpose, the purpose changes. It's not. Look, we spend $1 million, we got to make sure what if we're going to change the purpose? It's fine, but these are the questions we learned because next time something is going to come to us to buy or to sell or something, it's all got to be part of the plan and we have to have the facts. There's just a forensic analysis on
Everybody was on-
$1 million acquisition.
Everybody was on board with it at the time. So
We're still on board.
Well, yeah, but.
Still on board.
Am
Okay.
I correct in assuming that we would make more money renting the house out to renters than to turn them into parking spaces and try to get revenue from parking?
the house is in atrocious condition.
Yeah, it's.
It would require us to
you
do
want to
a
redo
good
it
amount of
all.
work to it, and then the payback would be several years to then get back.
I think,
Actually,
throwing, let's not throw random
Good,
solutions
yeah,
out. There ought to be a
yeah,
plan. Ought to have a
yeah.
couple of options. We can evaluate all of them. Decision will get made.
Yeah.
We'll move on and,
Okay.
It can
I
be
think-
torn down with,
I
added
I don't know that we want to be
parking.
landlords. That's not,
That's right.
for that
I
kind of
agree.
purpose. Okay. Okay, if not, well, I think we're done with Tiger. You want to move on to the tax supported capital?
Yeah, Josh is gonna come up.
Okay.
Yeah, nice.
Yes.
Oh, they're hot off the press. I can tell.
Thank
Pay
you.
attention to the last meeting.
Thank you.
Now you're making Tiger look bad. That's not good. That's not good.
Is this the tax supported?
Yes.
Okay, and we just got a new update like within a couple of minutes. Is that right? That's the newest? Okay, all right, well, everything was in all afternoon, so,
Great, thank you.
all right.
Gosh.
You want to refresh everybody on what we're trying to do here? This is sort of our annual
Sure,
washing of
sure.
the, where are we? What do we have left? What didn't we spend? So forth.
Sure, I'll just share my screen as far as I can. So basically, when a tax supported,
I'm sorry, Josh, you're going to need to bring that a lot closer. They can't hear you
Sure.
online, I'm sure. Okay, thanks.
so when a tax supported or a capital project funded by tax dollars is approved, we then allow it 2 years of lifespan before we need to kind of get the Board of Finance's approval to push it forward another year. So that means that the FY23 projects are automatically rolling over to FY24, and the FY22 and prior projects that have been rolled forward up until this point. I think the last time was in January that we voted on it, which was a little bit late. We're looking to push those forward to FY24. It also kind of serves as a good time of year to close out old projects, have monies returned back to the tax supported capital fund for funding of next year's capital projects as well. So
So to be clear, there's a group of projects that are sort of an auto rollover.
Yes,
That's this first group.
that's the first page. Yeah, that's.
Then there's the
there
project
weren't
to be
that-
closed.
Right, there
There,
weren't that many projects that were
Yeah.
tax supported capital in FY 23 since we started using bond premium and other revenues, other sources. So that's the 136, 620 on page 1. On the following.
we're not voting on this. This is all FYI. Just
The
be clear.
First two things. you're not
Exactly.
voting
No, I
on,
understand.
Correct. The second page, I think second 2 pages are the projects being closed. So it's kind of a long list, but at the bottom, it's a total of 342,797.86 coming back to the town, which is a nice chunk of change. And
So that's like half of the amount of the project.
Right.
Is that,
It
or is that just the
is.
portion that?
so,
was last
so it's half of what was the revised
Right.
budget in the last year.
Remember?
So that could
Yeah,
have been
I
a
do,
much
yeah.
reduced amount since its inception in
Right.
FY 17,
Yeah.
18, 19 or so. So you'll see like FY 22 engineering services at the bottom is its total budget is 1,200 and that's being closed out for 1,200. That probably started closer to 50,000 or
There you go.
35,000 or something like that. So of what is left, half of it, yes, is being closed out, but the original budget, I suppose, would be a better guide for the completion percentage of that. I don't have that number for you.
Does this include all of the items we spoke about in June, or is this in addition to the ones we had not finalized?
In June,
We went through all this as an update, was it? June?
I don't think
January was the
No.
last time.
we didn't, in
But-
June, we didn't vote on it.
No, we
You weren't
didn't,
done
no.
yet. We actually,
You're
we're
right.
doing it net today.
That's
In
possible, yeah.
June, we said, let's get the final list when they
Right,
close
I
the book.
remember.
That's right.
But is this inclusive of everything that we already saw plus
Yes.
more?
yeah,
Okay.
for tax
all
supported,
right.
this is up until,
Yeah.
a
All
couple
right.
days ago.
Okay, yeah,
um,
because it's been changed every time you open
Well,
your.
since we
That's
kind
all
of
right,
had to,
it's-
had to
yeah.
wait for the last invoices to come
It'll
on
come in
FY
through. That's-
23,
That's fine. I'm glad we're
Or we
where
can-
we are,
Rules,
yeah.
get the
to
real
make sure.
numbers for you.
So when will we vote on this or? We
Tonight.
don't, oh, we are,
Tonight.
okay.
So that's being closed.
No, we're not voting on that. That's
Not on
closed.
that.
That's a
Okay,
done
because
deal.
that's all right.
That's a done deal.
coming
All
back.
right.
Last page.
That's auto close.
That's
We had
the
auto
last-
rollover and auto close. So
Last
auto
page.
close is $340,000 getting returned.
The smallest font, the
Right?
last page.
Okay.
Is a total of $931,460.65 being asked to roll forward to FY 24. And these are all projects from 22 and earlier.
So these are 2 years old or older?
They are 2 years or older.
2020,
Some of
2019,
these are
somebody's getting old.
prior to 2020, so why would those still be open?
Actually,
Well,
Josh,
because
you
we
got-
permitted them to be open. when we
Right,
voted, right?
so
We
they
carried it
were
last
voted
time.
to roll forward in January of this year, in January 2023.
But
And
does that justify rolling them again?
I guess that would be up to the departments and you.
For the request we received in.
Right, so.
Well,
These
So
are
if you-
projects that the
you-
departments say are still ongoing.
And said,
that's the question.
we're just gonna roll them, or have they actually gone through and said, yeah, boy, that's still open. We need.
This
to
is a
do that."
math exercise. Did you go back and ask, and I'll use an example since we have the chief sitting right here, bulletproof vest replace. The budget was 7,075. We spent 6,626. We have $449 left. Is that do they need that money or that's just the
I
math, how it
believe
works
they
out?
Possibly have open invoices, maybe. on-
Okay.
On those.
No, that's
that-
a good answer. That's a good answer. But answer my question and Chris's, did we go back to the departments and ask
Of
these,
course.
so these are their numbers?
yes,
They're-
yes.
They've said,
Yeah,
I need
we
500.
met,
Yeah, we
Geiger,
polled
went-
each of the departments to ask what they want, what they're currently still working on.
But somebody did 09, 19, 17.
Yeah,
What's that?
27.
Is it 27?
Board of Ed is 2019, engineering oil tanks.
That's 2 years better than it was in January. It was in 17.
No, it's 2019.
There's a
2019 is out.
2017 there.
Yeah.
for, emergency.
3,300
Yeah.
bucks.
Oh,
have gone through project by project.
so the oil tanks, that's 33,000, still a keeper.
Yeah, it is, and it identified quite a few that were rolling off.
Yeah.
If you've done it, I think we're fine,
I-
but it just,
So-
it isn't just 1 or 2
Set
years.
down.
Those are 4 years now.
The Board of Ed specifically
Wow. there's
contributed
One in here for
like
6 years.
250,000 of the 300,000 or more that's being closed.
I see.
I think they really went through it with a fine tooth comb.
Okay.
and kind of understood the exercise of this is the time to close out projects if we're trying to open new ones for next year's budget cycle.
You already said, look, there's paying money left.
Yeah.
So from 2017, what is district UST emergency maintenance for 3,298?
That is also part of the oil tank. So the oil tank we're talking about is gonna cost about 50,000. And we're gonna utilize the 33,496 and the 3298.14. This is Sean O'Keefe. So that's, the oil tank will probably pull out sometime in early 24.
I see. So this is, so you just keep rolling this one until you actually finish the larger project.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, we have to do it. We
Not-
have
No,
35,000 left and it's gonna cost about 50 to do.
And this doesn't happen till next year?
From what I understand, it won't happen until sometime next year.
Okay.
All right.
And then ultimately, if it doesn't get spent, it goes into return.
Somebody would, yeah.
That's
All
right.
right.
Or a
That's
bunch-
exactly
a
right.
Bunch in return right now.
Yep.
including the
Yep, yep,
2017.
And we're looking to change the schedule for next year to do this, possibly come in front of you in June. Because it runs up against, if you say, no, they can't have those projects, because we're telling them it ends at June 30th of whatever year we're in.
Mhm.
If they've got an open PO, they can't put that invoice out there. They can't do that order. So in one of them, as Sean may point out, there was a vehicle being purchased, and because of the timeline of the lead time to get that vehicle, that money was technically, gone by June 30th, pending this board approving it. So that kind of puts that vehicle on hold going, how do we go ahead and purchase it if we
Sure.
don't even know if we have it in place? So we're hoping that next year we'll come in front and say to the departments, they'll vet it all through. And in June, we'll say, here's the ones they want to roll over, so that they can continue the purchase on it, and they'll know whether or not they have that ability to do it then, and then we can, move forward.
Yeah, because you don't want to create a culture of, rushing out to spend your money before you lose it.
Well, that.
Well,
that's
actually,
the
we actually
risk.
have the
Yeah.
opposite
The
culture,
risk,
which is
yeah.
probably the best
Of
answer.
course.
which is
because
amazing.
Time value of money is awesome.
It's
So
amazing.
I
I
love the
mean,
fact that there's something that hasn't.
I
been spent that-
can't,
Right.
I couldn't agree more. It's unbelievable.
And if there's a good reason, it makes sense. I'm just glad we've gotten this far.
No, this is good.
It's a huge
great.
exercise.
It's really good, really good.
And, and figure out where we are so it doesn't just linger and linger and then it comes back and again, we've done this. It's
The
crazy.
departments have all been very good. We actually
Yeah.
did it across the board with all. We did it in our capital bonding. We did it in the tax supported bonding, the premium. And we did special projects. So the end of every year, we're going to look to send that out. A couple of different reasons. We need to know whether to capitalize them or not. So I have to know whether those projects are closed or a CIP. And is there money left so that when we start the budget season, we can say there's money left in these particular projects. It's available for X, or it can go to anything, or we take it back.
Yep.
So it gets ahead of it before we start budget season, and it gets us ahead of getting capitalization and CIPs in place. So that's our plan every year. And the
Yeah,
departments have
no,
been very
I think
good.
it's a good plan. I think it's a great plan. We used to
Very
hawk
helpful.
this stuff. Now there's so
Excuse
much
me.
more. Now
One thing, just maybe a
detail is
couple,
just
we're
balloons.
good. I think we're good with this and we'll
Yeah.
vote. We can take a vote in a minute, but just maybe one thing for you, Tiger, playground safety upgrade, 30,000. 2019. So I'm surprised.
Not seeing is that if there's actually a purchase order out there, the money's covered. And then we need to continue on. We're combining 1 year with the next.
You bought something.
Together.
Okay. Okay.
Certain playgrounds, you can go contract, we combine 2 years together to then finish out 1 year, combine it with the next year and go forward. So what you're not seeing in here is that, while they might show you the actual, some of the monies are actually encumbered, like our ADA consultant. It's a $75,000 project, $75,000 are encumbered. They came into the analysis. I need the money because I need to pay the consultant, right? It just so happens that on June 30, she closed we had already encumbered money, they started doing the work, they haven't invoiced me yet. If we don't carry it over.
Mhm. Sure, sure. Okay.
Right, and that's the need to do it earlier.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's probably not a, look, I agree with it's a good discipline. There's certainly good stories behind all of this stuff or explanations for it all, but there's also an element of this somewhat imprecise in the way it's currently presented and maybe the way you're proposing to kind of move it forward into June and maybe, the presentation be a little bit different. But one of the issues we do struggle with as a board is, of course, bandwidth. So a lot of times what comes is, oh, we want to do this and it's going to cost this much, whatever. And when we're often say, well, your Tigers group's already stretched, you're trying to take care of everything. And right. And so a lot of times you can imagine a lot of the questions here is, well, this thing's been kicking around and, from, again, numbers on the page, you haven't spent a nickel. Like this is, you asked for 60,000, been hanging around for 3 weeks and it's still showing 60. And again, there's good explanations for it. So maybe there is a way to kind of format this so that we can draw the right conclusions. Because a lot of this is, I'm not saying it's alarming, but it does cause us to sit back and have some questions.
Maybe I agree with you. But one other maybe clarification. Are you saying, and I'll pick on another thing on here, the loader plow or the vacuum leaf system, you've put out a
Put the
purchase order for those.
And they couldn't.
So the money hasn't been spent yet because we haven't, other than maybe some percentage of a down payment or something to hold it. We haven't. So that almost ought to be in its own little category because that is encumbered. That's a very different thing. Yeah.
It's just delivery.
It's not like you didn't spend it.
Okay.
You did. It's not going to arrive here for 6 more months because for 52 different reasons. But is that fair? Is that what's going on in some of these? That's important. All right. Well, then just a refinement because it's getting better every time we do this. That'd be a great refinement. We bold them, we put them at the bottom, something where
We build in the.
it's not like we didn't spend it. We ordered it. It just hasn't come yet, so we haven't had to pay for it.
Yeah,
I
that's
got
a,
you.
that's a,
Also try to include
kind of
maybe
a s-
the original budget. for
That's
the
like a
project as
status
well.
line.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Other questions? This is as always very good. This is a special session, so we can't actually add anything to the agenda, but maybe a question related to this, not adding to the agenda. Are there capital things that you're looking to do or spend money on that we didn't have that are surprises? Does
I believe-
Tiger need a truck?
Tiger
Does
Tiger had talked about, probably about a month ago, and we talked earlier today too about a truck where they changed up some positions and, they have an employee that's in need of a truck for,
Okay.
instead of doing all the back and forths that they do, that they can actually go to a place and be self-contained. There's an ability to possibly purchase it, because it's at a considerable discount. It's a used truck, but it only
Okay.
has, I think, 500 miles on it.
so
and
this should be something we need so
On
you're
the
gonna come to
agenda.
us in October for that one?
Yeah, we probably have to
Okay.
go in front of the Board of Selectmen
Yeah,
first from the
okay.
purchasing board
Okay.
to see, identify the funds of where it can come from and then do that. So,
Okay. Sounds like you have some capital.
yes,
I mean, if you tell us we need it, we need it.
We need it.
it's definitely an efficiency thing.
Bring it to us in
consider.
October. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that makes sense.
Okay.
After the selectmen give their opinion on it too. Okay, all right, so we need a motion to approve,
So moved.
right? We can prove it on the list as is,
Yeah. Well, the last
as
page.
presented, last page, okay? So moved, Tom.
931 and change.
931 and
I
change.
need a second.
A second.
Amy, second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Chris, you're not opposed?
No, I
I
said.
just want to check. All right, thank you. Great work.
you.
That's really helpful.
Thank you.
Want to do line items and we'll do executive session?
Sure. So there are 3 lists of line item transfers this time. The first being transfers done in FY 23. That's on the screen and first page of that. There are several, obviously, towards the end of the year. Departments moving money around. This totals to 27,210.72. Nothing really of note in that. And that's just a review. As well as a short list, even though it's larger dollar amount, for just reviewing in FY 24 for $188,188. And then finally, there is one transfer to approve. There it is, 24,000 for GIS services between land use and engineering, I believe. And that does need a vote.
Just to explain, we split that department up. So it's now land use and building. So they're separate departments, but in land use is part of Tiger's budget for GIS.
Okay.
Tigan Bond, I forget what they do, GIS, but the different surveys and things. System. So we're making putting it into his department because he's going into someone else's department to take those funds. So we're putting it into Tiger's department and taking it out of land use.
It says from land use to land use though. So is that a type?
It's probably
or-
just a typo.
Typo.
The-
It
The,
should be from,
the org, the 1054305 is the correct engineer.
It's the correct, it's engineering, it's not land use. Okay, so duly noted for that for the minutes. That's it. We're transferring to
we can
engineering.
send you an updated one.
Which one is this?
Oh, this one, the last
Yeah,
one,
the la- the
24,000.
Yeah, the 20, yeah.
The 4155 is the one that's giving it up.
That's correct. It's not going
Land
from
use.
land use to land use, it's going from land use to engineering.
The accountant
Yes,
was-
Okay.
all the counting strings are correct. It's the title.
No worries.
Good.
Okay, any a motion to approve that transfer?
So moved.
Maria, second, Chris?
Chris.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay.
Great, thank you.
So move. Thanks, Josh.
Very much.
We're gonna get a finance update in October.
Yes, we still have some moving numbers.
Okay,
So we will get we'll give you a 23
okay,
and we'll give you a 24 estimate. For the
perfect.
first-
For first quarter. And I asked Andrew to give us an update too on cash management, just to get a status as to where we are.
And was there gonna be something on the assigned fund balances?
Yes, that'll come with the 23.
Do-
Got it,
That's October as well.
got it. Okay.
Is that okay? Okay. Okay. So Tucker, we need to. Say again?
We need to, motion to enter into executive session. We need a second and then you list who you're inviting to an executive.
Okay. So in that order, motion to move to executive session.
So moved.
Judy, second. Tom, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Okay. All right, I do need a list of people to invite. We'll start with Superintendent Brian Lutzy, right? Katrina? Board of Ed Chair. I need everybody's names, so make sure we've got. Well, John for sure. Andrew Wall, Captain, yeah, okay.
Deputy Chief.
Do you have the names? Okay.
Well,
Well,
We don't need Ann.
those-
I'm
they're
still
staying.
working.
They're staying, right?
They're staying. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tucker? No, I don't think so. No. We're not inviting you, not disinviting you. Who's online that we need to invite?
It's already 8 o'clock. You can go. Yeah. Yes.
We do. I just want to know who I'm. Okay, with that, I think we've concluded our meeting. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Tom, second?
Second.
Second, Victor, all in favor of adjournment? Aye. Opposed? None? We're adjourned. Thank you all. Thanks, everyone. See you in October.
We have another 6 o'clock start.
No. Do you want one?
Never know.
Are you asking?
No, I'm just.
Well, who said that?
It's always
You
tricky.
never know, is it probably unfortunately, right? No. To my knowledge, no.
Boardwalk apparently is like.
Yeah.
All right, all right.
Whenever it is, and I have a question.
Yeah, no, I was like.
Sad.